G80 BMW M3 Competition has finally arrived in South Africa, and yes, I know it's got a big grill. I'm not even going to talk about it because what can I say that hasn't already been said. But what's most important is that under the bonnet we've got the brand's S58 twin turbocharged 3 litre straight 6 pushing 375 kilowatts to the rear wheels. What this gives the 1.7 ton car, which is actually a bit too heavy in my opinion, is a 0 to 100 time of 3.9 seconds. If you are like myself and not really a fan of sedans, there is an alternative competitor from a competing manufacturer. It looks a bit different in shape, but is rather close in terms of performance. Sean, I see you brought something that actually puts its power down to the tarmac a lot better than what I've brought here.
Yeah, I would say, I guess off the line and in corners, but the spirited driving machine definitely is the M3.
Do you think so? You think this is better on tarmac than the RS4?
I do, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, considering we prefer each other's cars, maybe I'll take the RS4 and you take this.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, we're going to swap over. I think that makes more sense. So what you brought here is the Audi RS4 Avant, now a bit older than the M3.
Yeah.
Similar in many ways. It's 6 cylinders, twin turbo, all-wheel drive, torque converter, 100 kgs heavier and a couple of kilowatts down on power. But the thing is, this is quattro. So off the line, although they've got the same 0 to 100 time, I really think this is going to win.
It might be quicker off the line, but I definitely think the BM will catch up with it further down the straight, and it's probably a bit more exciting than the Audi.
Well, I mean, the tech these cars use these days, you just want to go fast. I mean, driver engagement, you don't really need that in the road anymore, do you?
No, you do. I mean, that's why you buy these cars, I think. I think if it doesn't excite you, then what's the point? You might as well buy a Polo.
Sure. I mean, well, the only way we're going to settle this is to do a drag race, aren't we?
Have to.
Let's get behind the wheel and do it.
So I've got to win this thing because, you know, the Audis are notoriously good off the line. This car's rear-wheel drive, so it has a disadvantage of getting its power down off the line.
So just as context, we are using Killarney's back straight because they're doing maintenance on the actual drag strip. That's why there will be a bit of a kink in the road. It shouldn't change the results all too much. However, we do know that BMW's launch controls never work as well, although they are kind of improved with the new torque converters. Off the line, it's going to be quite close, I think. The Audi is going to have the advantage, but here we go. God, that's fast. Jesus, that's quick. I can't believe I got a shock there. Oh man, that's so unlike me. Oh, that was awesome. M3 looked like it maintained. There was a bit of struggle off the line, a bit of wheel spin. Wonder if the launch control initiated alright in that. So we know that with this RS4, it's probably at a dynamic disadvantage on this track next to the M3. Right? That's a given. It's 100 kgs heavier, down on power.
Down on power, yeah.
I mean, the all-wheel drive on a track like Killarney isn't all too beneficial. So dynamically speaking, the difference between the RS4 and the M3, that uses a multi-link front and rear, whereas the M3's got a MacPherson strut. And you can kind of tell with that car through high-speed cornering, that setup definitely makes a bigger difference compared to a multi-link. There's a lot more composure in that M3. It feels a lot more natural with high-speed cornering, whereas the RS4, also with its weight distribution, feels like it leans into the corner a lot more, whereas the M3 glides through it, which makes all the difference, especially on a track like Killarney where the corners are pretty high speed.
Yeah, and we're hoping that, well, I mean, I'm certainly hoping that Johan's sort of able to get a few Ks more through the corners. I think he will definitely, as you say, in terms of how the car is set up. Look, I think a respectable time by the Audi, the way that it's able to put down its power through that quattro all-wheel drive system, and then also, as we mentioned, both cars are running an 8-speed torque converter sort of gearbox. I mean, the Audi walked away with the drag race. As you said, off the line, the traction off the line was absolutely like supreme. The BMW bogged down a lot. That amount of power going through the rear wheels is tough. So this is where the BMW can definitely claw one back. The BM's going to go out now. Let's see what time it does.
This time around we've got a car with less weight, more power, rear wheel drive, McPherson strut front axle, front suspension. I mean, this one's made for the track.
As you mentioned, I mean, the fundamentals, it's got more power, it weighs less.
It's got the carbon fiber roof, it's got bucket seats.
Sure, it's got carbon fiber everywhere.
Yeah, it's very racing focused.
And even the driving position, Nikesh, I think it feels very race car.
You can push this car further in the corners.
Yeah.
Down the straights, I mean, we saw it in the drag race, even though it didn't get as strong a launch, the RS4 wasn't able to increase the gap.
But the immediacy of the BMW's engine, it's insane. It doesn't feel turbocharged. It's super responsive.
Think about how much more weight, how much less power the RS4 has.
Yeah. It does feel as if it tops out quite early, you know. The M3 feels as if it can sort of go on and just pull and pull and pull.
That's a full 3 seconds faster than the RS4.
Wow,
Yeah.
3 seconds faster.
That's a lot of time.
Sure. It just shows what you can get out of that car.
Yeah.
Convincing victory for the M3.
Pretty much. Fair is fair. I mean, the RS4, as much as I love it, you can't deny that the M3. I mean, as much criticisms we have with it, especially with the transmission, you can't deny it. They've got the product right. So, yeah, not without its flaws, definitely, but I mean, just a phenomenal piece of machinery that we've got here with the current generation M3 Competition. What was it like out on track?
Well, it's amazing. I did an amazing lap time. Very, very impressed with the car. It does that sort of shrinking around you thing. So I mean, I know it's a big heavy car, but when I was driving it, it sort of felt like it was shrinking around me. It became quite light in a way. It's not. I mean, it felt a lot like a racing car, in fact. So it turned in, and then made all this grip in the middle of the corner. And then when I put the throttle on it, it sort of had a little sort of a drift out. But it was easier than the previous M3 to drive, and lots of power, great brakes. I was almost emotional at the end of the lap. It was so good, you know.
I understand that. Yeah. So I mean, the two cars are chalk and cheese, and we know that the M3 is made for the track, and the RS4 is made for your leisurely driving.
Your leisurely driving, yeah.
On track, how do the two cars compare?
Well, yeah, the Audi felt very soft, and it rolled a lot. It wasn't a bad car. It also their gearbox is great. They improved it a bit, and very good brakes. It was a lot slower. But this car just felt like, oh my word, it's got so much grip. The Audi felt like it's gripping. It's okay, you know.
Okay.
But I think on the road, the Audi would probably be much easier to get to its limits, or to at least drive quickly on the road. You know, this is a very fast car. Yeah. So I don't think you'd get anywhere near its ability on the road, really. You know, probably cost a lot of money to be a track day car, but it's a hell of a car.
So the RS4, I mean, it's fantastic. It's sublime. The engine is great. Transmission is good. It's comfortable. It's refined. But in the parameters that we set today, I think it's an outstanding win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the M3 feels a lot more raw. That, I suppose, is not what the RS4 is about.